Hi, I'm Lanisha Robinson, your host for Career and Technical Education, #BuildAFuture. As we start this school year, our aim is to show a variety of career and technical education CTE programs we have within St. Lucie Public Schools. These programs are leading the way directly into the workforce for many of our students. Students are earning industry certifications, participating in state and national competitions from the skills they learned directly from their CTE classroom. We at St. Lucie Public Schools take pride in knowing our CTE students are actively closing the skills gap needed in our community. In this episode of Career and Technical Education, #BuildAFuture, you will meet Mrs. Jenna Blanken-Baker from Fort Pierce Westwood High School and learn how these students are getting the leading edge. All right, welcome Mrs. Blanken-Baker and her student Nathaniel Zajac from Fort Pierce Westwood High School's Agritechnology program. Mrs. Blanken-Baker and Nathaniel, please share your role at Fort Pierce Westwood High School. We'll start with you first.
Well, I'm Jenna Blanken-Baker. I am the agriculture teacher at Fort Pierce Westwood High School, and this is my 5th year teaching there.
Okay.
I'm Nathaniel Zajac. I am a senior at Fort Pierce Westwood High School, and I am the FFA president.
Okay, all right, welcome. All right, so Mrs. Blanken-Baker, you work with your students in the Agritechnology program, okay? How long have you been a teacher there?
I'm going into year 5
Okay,
teaching
wow.
at Westwood, yes.
Wow, okay. What is your educational background?
I went to college at the University of Florida. I majored in agriculture education, and then I did a teaching internship at South Sumter High School in Central Florida, and moved down here and began teaching at Westwood.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, like coming from the work or, the working industry, coming from the work world, and then now teaching? Can you give some background on that?
Yeah, so I was involved in an agriculture program, an FFA and 4-H growing up since I was very young, and showing livestock and those kind of things and being involved in ag programs. So that's kind of where that passion began, and I knew from a young age I was going to become an ag teacher. And then I once again was in an ag program in high school, and my ag teacher was very influential to making sure that I followed that career path, and he still is influential to that. We talk all the time. And so once I started school at the University of Florida, I worked for UF in the entomology research department in landscape entomology, as well as I interned for Congressman Yoho, which is a local congressman up there who was also a large animal vet. So he had a very strong agriculture background as well. So I got a little bit of experience in policy and that kind of thing.
Wow, very interesting. All right, so as we all know, as a teacher, you kind of want to stay updated and current with what's going on in our world, in our society, what's going on with the industry, so that way when you're teaching the information, you have that to present to your students. Can you tell us what do you do to stay current?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty easy for me because it's something that I'm so passionate about, and it also influences my personal life as well. And so, going to different conventions, for example, a Florida Cattlemen's Convention and things like that kind of help you dive into what's going on in the agriculture industry, and learning more about how that works and some of the new technology that's used in it. And then, of course, we have lots of fantastic trainings for Florida agriculture teachers that is put on by Florida Farm Bureau, by the Florida FFA Association. And so they do a really fantastic job of making sure that the agriculture teachers in Florida are always current on what's happening in the industry as well as in the teaching world too. So.
All right. Okay, so now can you tell us a little bit about your actual career program with your academy? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so at Westwood, we have an agriculture program that has just one track right now. It's the Ag Tech track or the Agritechnology track. Hopefully that will expand in the future. And so they will begin in Ag Foundations in 9th grade, and then go into Ag Tech 1 and then Ag Tech 2. And then their senior year, they can take directed studies, which is kind of like a hands-on experience. So that program, they will get to do a little bit of everything, which is nice about the ag tech program. So they will do everything from plant science and horticulture to aquaculture and hydroponics, to animal science and livestock production, ag mechanics, welding. All those kind of things are, they get a little bit of everything. And as they progress through the years, they get to be more and more hands-on and go a little bit more in depth with their studies in those aspects.
Okay. So with looking at the parents, looking at our viewing audience, why is it important for them to know why high school students are actually in this program? Why is it important?
Well, I personally think it's extremely important, obviously, because it impacted my complete future being involved in an agriculture program. So students are learning a lot of different skills with their career skills. If they go into the agriculture field, they get a little taste of everything and see, you know, what kind of direction they want to go. But then beyond that, they're getting all types of leadership skills. So one of the big components of FFA is leadership and public speaking, job skills. Those kind of soft skills are really important for students. And, you know, sometimes they don't learn them anywhere else. And so we want to make sure that when a kid leaves high school, that they have a really nice resume, that they're able to go into a job interview and know how to conduct themselves, how to apply for jobs, as well as do public speaking and those kind of things. So that's one of the really great things, not only the actual skills they get in that industry, but also, you know, knowing how to talk, how to sell themselves, how to advocate for our industry, which is a big one we talk about a lot. You know, I know as an ag teacher, that every student I teach is not going to become a farmer or rancher or go into agriculture in any way. They may not go into ag technology, mechanics, anything whatsoever. But at the end of the day, if they leave my class or my program as a more informed consumer, because we all, you know, deal with ag, whether it be with clothing, shelter, food, whatever, you know, that all comes back to the ag industry. And so as long as they leave the program as a more informed consumer and a better advocate for the industry, I feel like that's pretty influential as well.
Wow, that's a lot. Wow. Okay, so if we were to shadow a student in your classroom, what would we see on a day-to-day basis or a normal day for that student?
Well, a lot of my kids are showing at the St. Lucie County Fair, and they're livestock exhibitors. And so they are some of the most dedicated students on campus. And I'm prejudiced, obviously, but they will be at the school a lot of times before I am in the mornings, and they're out in the barn feeding their animals, making sure they have water for the day, doing any kind of that daily care that they have to do, because those animals have to be fed twice a day as well, and that's their responsibility. So that's, you know, where their morning starts. 6:30, 6:40 in the morning, they're in the barn working before anybody else gets to school. And so, you know, then they go into their classes and things. And then in ag class, depending on which level ag they're in, we'll either be in the classroom, in the barn, out in our garden out back, or, you know, hopefully off campus at some points throughout the year, getting to see some real parts of the ag industry. But they will be doing anything from learning, you know, like I said, with indoor classroom labs about different things in the industry, or actually getting to use their skills outdoors and do some of those things.
Wow. Okay. So we know that, well, you and I know that industry certifications, articulation agreements are very important for our students. So can you tell us a little bit about your certification that you offer your students?
Sure. We have two that currently that we're doing. So we have, both are through Florida Farm Bureau. The first one is an agritechnologist, and then the second is an associate of agriculture. And both of those they're very similar certifications. Like I said, they're through the Florida Farm Bureau, so they're very much so scoped around Florida agriculture, which is really nice, especially for employers in Florida. Every agriculture industry, or part of agriculture industry, of the industry in Florida, knows who Florida Farm Bureau is. So that already kind of just gives employers a check off, you know, when they see that on their resume. The agritechnologist and associate of agriculture are very closely related. Most students get both of them. But they will have questions on there, anything from their soft skills that we talked about. So, some of their being able to have a resume and public speaking, to things within the animal science industry, and it just kind of tests them a little bit on everything, so employers can be sure that they have a very wide variety knowledge of the skills that they learned within the program.
Okay. So can you tell us any job titles or that your students have earned once they've earned that certification and they leave high school? Upon graduation, they can go out and get a job. Can you give us some examples of even past students, previous students that you've had that are successful now?
Yeah, I have some awesome students, like I've said. And so they've been extremely successful. I have kids who have gotten the certification, and I have some that are managing farms. I have a student who went to welding school and moved back home and is now welding in a local welding shop. And I have some students who are planning on becoming agriculture teachers, and so that certification is something that can be on their resume, and that will help them to continue either in college or in career, either way.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to the topic of articulation agreements. All right, that's very important for the community to know, but also parents to be aware as well. Can you tell us about articulation agreements that you have in your program?
Sure. So we have an articulation agreement with Indian River State College. And so students who are program completers of the Ag Tech program will get 16 college credits towards an AS at Indian River State College. And then beyond that, students who have one of those two certifications we just spoke about will also get, I believe it's 3 college credits towards an AS in agriculture production. So they get out of high school and already have a pretty good jump start on getting an AS at a local state college, which is pretty impressive for a lot of high school students.
Okay. And so looking at the calculations of everything, so how many total credits will a student be able to earn in the end?
Well, they would get the 16 from IRSC, and then an additional 3 on top of that, so they'd have about 19 credit hours already before they even graduate high school.
Wow, that's really impressive. Okay, so let's meet with Nathaniel now. Let's speak with you a little bit. All right, so I understand that you have basically a wealth of knowledge, but also you're in leadership as well. But let's take a step back. Can you tell us some information in regards to, as a student, what are some hands-on experiences that you get as a student in the program?
Hands-on experience, we get to go out to the barn and work with the animals during class time. And then we also do labs inside the classroom and outside the classroom at the barn, showing different, how to work with the animals and different anatomy and parts of the animal. And we also do stuff inside the classroom where we will take and model a irrigation system, or working with fertilizer labels and how to read those and decipher them.
Wow, impressive. All right, so with Jenna, Mrs. Blankenbaker, can you tell us the name of, because I know your students compete, what's the actual title of that student organization your students are involved in?
It's just called the FFA now. Originally, it stood for Future Farmers of America. When it started in 1928, they, throughout the years, switched it to just the National FFA organization, because Future Farmers of America kind of made people feel like they had to be a farmer to be in the organization, which is not the case whatsoever. A little phrase that you kind of hear sometimes, which I really like, is, FFA and ag is not just cows, sows, and plows anymore, but rather beakers, speakers, and job seekers. And so that's something I tell the kids all the time. You don't have to go directly into a barn or a farm or a ranch to be involved in ag. It's so much beyond that.
Okay. So going back to you, Nathaniel, can you tell me about are you involved in FFA?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what is your position in FFA? Are you in leadership or
Yes,
student
I'm
member?
the FFA president.
Okay. All right. Now, can you tell me what skills and talents that you have learned in your classroom that you're able to take over to FFA?
So all of the stuff we do in the classroom is you can take all of that and it's brought over into the CDEs and the competitions that we do. We have food science competitions, we have environmental science competitions, we have livestock judging competitions. There's anything in ag, there's a competition for it in FFA.
Okay.
So
Wow.
just going off of that too, an agriculture program is based on a 3-circle model. So all 3 circles are supposed to be, evenly sized and then overlapping as well. And so the first circle is classroom instruction, the second is FFA, and then the next is SAE, which is supervised agricultural experiences. And that's basically where the kids get to take their experiences that they learn both in FFA and in the classroom and apply it hands-on, whether it be with exhibiting their own livestock animal or raising their own animals at home or volunteering in a vet's office, some sort of ag education thing. And so they can do, if they're properly plugged into the program, which I hope they all are, they get to kind of get a little bit of everything and then at the end kind of compose it into their SAE and get a really great hands-on experience.
Okay, all right. So how often is the practice for a student? A student coming right in and want to get involved with FFA. How long, how often do you all practice? What do the hours look like? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Every afternoon after school, we're always at the school practicing the different competitions. We have the practices for each one on different days. So we'll have like food science practice on Monday from 2 to 3, and then our public speaking events will practice on Tuesdays from 2 to 3, or whenever the students can meet to practice.
Wow. Okay. All right. So can you tell us, have you personally earned any awards or scholarships from FFA? And then you can also chime in, Ms. Blankenbaker, with other students as well.
Okay.
So we'll start with you, Nathaniel.
I have earned both these certifications through the Florida Farm Bureau that Ms. Blankenbaker was speaking about earlier. And then through earning those, I was able to go in and do my SAE, which Ms. Blankenbaker sent me a job. And so my SAE is a job placement in the swine industry. So I'm currently using those certifications that I earned to go and work with my SAE looking at a local pig farm.
Wow. So you basically already have a position out there, even still in high school.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Okay. All right. So can you tell us, what do you want to do? Because you've talked about, you've earned your certifications, you have all this exposure with FFA inside your classroom, outside the classroom. What do you want to do once you graduate from high school?
When I graduate from high school, I plan on going to Warner University in Lake Wales and earning a bachelor's degree in agriculture science. And then after I get that degree, I plan on opening up a ranch.
Okay. All right. So what has been the most beneficial part for you being a part of this academy?
I think when I first started high school, I wanted to be a police officer. And then going in taking ag foundations, I developed a love for the agriculture industry. And so now I've changed my career path, and that's something that I now want to do. And I spend all of my weekends out doing agriculture things. And I've even taken my experiences from the classroom and gone out and gotten other certifications that's not offered through the school. And so I'm now certified in artificial insemination, which is something we learned a little bit about inside the classroom. But now I've gone out and taken a agriculture certification technician certification course.
Okay. All right. So going back to you, Ms. Blankenbaker,
Yes,
can
ma'am.
you tell us once again, just kind of like a finalization of why is agritechnology, why is it important to our community? Why is it important to our students? Why is it important to have it, in St. Lucie County schools,
Right.
public schools?
Absolutely. Well, St. Lucie County is a very strong agriculture industry, super strong. Some of the largest cow-calf operations in the country are here in our county, and so that's something to be extremely proud of. But beyond that, I feel like there is a segment of our community that is so far removed from the agriculture industry. So, like I said earlier, if a student doesn't ever go into the ag industry after high school, at least I know that they have a better understanding of where their food comes from. So that's one of the kind of overriding things. But then, beyond the hands-on skills that they're going to learn and the applications that they'll be able to do after school, they'll get some really great leadership skills, some really great job skills that will be able to help them throughout life wherever they go, whether they go directly into career or directly to college. Either way, I think that they're learning some skills that will just help push for their college success or success within their career. So that's really exciting.
Okay, so as we prepare to close, I just want to repeat a few things that are important and vital that it was mentioned during this segment. So basically, you're not only teaching your students, but you're also helping to close a skills gap that we have in our community, all right? You're also, this is vital to our community overall. Regardless of what we're doing, we have some kind of tie-in or buy-in to what you all are doing in the classroom every day. All right, your students can earn up to basically 16, 19 college credits easily just by being in the program and earning those industry certifications, right? And then finally, you were talking about how students are involved in career and technical student organizations, those CTSOs, which are basically FFA. You know, your students are actually getting that hands-on skills in the classroom, be able to apply it in the outside world, and basically compete with it as well.
Right.
Okay, all right. So is this program, do we have to pay for anything? Is this something that is free? Like, are there any costs associated with the program?
So that kind of depends on what track you decide to take within the program. Just to be in the class, no. To become a member of FFA, yes. There is a $20 fee for membership for the year. And then beyond that, you know, dependent on if they show their own animals, they are obviously responsible for the cost associated with raising that animal. But then they also get to reap the benefits, which is the profit at the end of the day. So at the St. Lucie County Fair, when they show and sell their livestock, they also get to keep all the profit from that. So, you know, kids can graduate high school with a pretty hefty little savings account for either college or a new vehicle or whatever it is that they need at that moment, which is fantastic. So that's good.
Okay, so if looking at, you know, for those, our viewing audience looking at our show, is there any, let's say a parent or community member wants to reach out to you or to get more details on your program, what websites, you know, social media websites, anything like that they can go on to learn more about your program?
We have two things that we're using right now. So we have the Fort Pierce Westwood FFA Facebook page. We post a lot of very current pictures on there, activities that are going on, our calendar, schedule of events, that kind of thing. So that's Fort Pierce Westwood FFA, and it's on Facebook. And then the other way that you can keep up with some of the things that we're doing in the program is through the St. Lucie County School Board's website. You can go through the Career and Technical Education tab and then find the Ag Tech program underneath that.
Okay. So as we prepare to close, Nathaniel, do you have anything you want to add about the program? Any additional benefits you want to share with the viewing audience?
I'd just like to say that the program really enlightens and brings out a lot of leadership skills that I wouldn't have had or found that I had if I hadn't joined the program and been able to expose to the public speaking competitions or the leadership officer positions in FFA. So it really prepares you for coming out of high school, even if you don't go into ag.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other remarks or additional comments you'd like to add?
I think I've said it more than once probably throughout the show, but you know, even if you're not directly related to ag, I think there's something to offer for everybody. It's pretty fantastic to see students who, you know, take what they learn in class and then apply it when they're even grocery shopping with their moms over the weekend, then come back and tell me how they were paying more attention to labels on their food or, you know, different cuts of meats and things like that. And so at the end of the day, I think that anybody and everybody can gain something from the program, even if you have no desire to go out into a barn and, you know, do some of that kind of work. So
I'm Lanisha Robinson, and this is Career and Technical Education, #BuildAFuture. That's all for this show, but we invite you to view our St. Lucie Public Schools Career and Technical Education page. Remember, career and technical education is building pathways, which are pipelines for all of our students. We are building a future and continuing to close the skills gap by offering rigorous curriculum for high school graduates, while meeting the demands of related careers and emerging technology. On behalf of the station's team, I'd like to thank you for joining us today.